Amy, what is our third main topic today?
This one comes from Darren MaKay. So, John, I know you're going to see Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power tonight in a movie theater, which I think is awesome. So I was hoping that you won't make us wait till the after show on Friday to tell us what you thought of it. No spoilers, obviously, but can you give us just your general impression? Did you have a good time? Did it live up to the hype for you? Thanks.
Were there any clowns?
Was it clown work? Thanks for saying that in, Darren. Yeah, so last night, I've been really excited about last night because Ann and I got to go to a movie theater to go and watch the first 2 episodes of Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which of course debut tonight because it's game day.
Game day
tonight on Amazon at 6 p.m. Los Angeles time, whatever time that is where you are around the world, because I think they're dropping at the same exact time. So 6 p.m. here, 9 p.m. East Coast, and then whatever time zone that is for you where you live. They're dropping the first 2 episodes tonight. It has been my most anticipated television show, maybe the last 5 years. I've been excited about this. I've been stoked about it. Went out to go see it last night. Went to a Cinemark theater, by the way, the one right beside Angel Stadium. So it was a pain in the ass to get there because there was a game going on last night, I think. So the traffic right around it was bad. But so really enjoyed it. I like that Cinemark theater. It was being shown in the Cinemark XD theater, which was just like a AMC A-list theater, except it didn't have Dolby Atmos sound. But their recliner chairs also had these swing out arm trays. That was like game changing. Love those.
Oh my God, John. Get on with it. I want to hear your review.
Oh,
Wait, did you get the terrible Danny Trejo ad?
No.
Okay.
There were no ads at all. No trailers, no nothing. 7 p.m. Showtime's at 7 p.m. Boom, 7 p.m.
You were in heaven.
The music started and right into it we went. All right, so here are my thoughts. I had heard, even from people who really loved the first couple things. And by the way, interesting side note, right now, House of the Dragon and Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power have the exact same score on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment. So I had heard from people, even people who really liked it, that, hey, it starts off a bit slow. I was not prepared for how slow. And let me give this disclaimer here quickly. There is a difference between slow burn and slow. They're 2 different things. All right. You look at something like Severance, there's no action scenes or anything going on, but something is always happening. And then once the message of a certain scene is conveyed, they move on to the next scene. And then once the message of that, they don't meander there. They don't linger there. The first episode of Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power was not a slow burn. It was slow. And it was so slow to me. And there was a great action sequence in it and everything like that. But this is how slow it was. And I admit, I am more sensitive to a show being not slow burn, but slow than most people are. But when the first episode ended, there was like a 3 to 4 minute break in between the 2 episodes in the theater, right? I seriously thought about just leaving.
Oh my God.
I honestly thought about just leaving. Now, there was nothing in the first episode that thought, well, that's stupid. No. Don't get me wrong. There was none of that. It was all perfectly fine. But it was a slog. For me personally, it was a slog to get through the first episode. And what was probably an hour-long episode felt like 3 to me. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not going into any spoilers. We're going to have our open spoiler after show discussion on this tomorrow afternoon after all the rest of you guys have a chance to see it. So I'm not going to go into spoilers. I'm not going to go into any details. I'm just saying that for me, I was ready to dive. Now, I did my out of the theater reaction, and I mentioned just quickly, and it's like, yeah, man, I mean, if they didn't show us the second one right away, I might have tapped out after the first episode. And I had people saying, but John, you've been saying it's been your most anticipated thing. You'd be willing to tap out of it after one episode? And I'm like, listen, I don't owe it to any show to give it 3 or 4 or 5 of my hours.
That's right.
It is the show's responsibility to hook me. And it doesn't matter how excited I am for something or how not excited I am for something. How many times do I tell you guys, when you go to see a movie or TV show, when you go to see a movie, take whatever expectations you had, high or low, and leave them at the door. So yeah, it's my most anticipated show of the last 5 years, but that stops the moment I walk in the theaters. Now it's up to the show or the movie to earn it. And it either does or does not. And I would tell people, listen, if I've been excited for 3 years to go to this new Gordon Ramsay restaurant, and then I get there and I take the first bite of steak and I almost want to spit it out, I'm not eating the rest of it. I don't care how excited I've been for it all this time. If I take that first bite and it makes me want to spit it out, I'm not just going to, well, in principle, I'm going to finish the rest. I don't do that. You may do that, and that's totally cool if you do, but I don't. Fortunately, there was a second episode. And I will say this right now. It was the smartest decision in the world by Amazon to release 2 episodes at once, at least to start with, because the second episode is a totally different story. The second episode, you get the payoff. Listen, you talk. Some people would be writing to me today and say, but John, you need some time to lay the groundwork. Look at episode 1 of House of the Dragon. They were laying groundwork. It was slow burn, but every single scene had direct focus purpose. And then once that purpose was met, they didn't just drag on the scene for another 5 minutes. They then moved on to the next scene. That was a show that laid groundwork, introduced the world, did some world building. We got to know the characters, all that kind of stuff, but they made it with its own cadence, its pace, and it was engaging. The first episode of Lord of the Rings of Power is not, in my opinion only. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this episode, Stamps.com. Guys, you know the holiday season has a way of sneaking up on us, and we are never as prepared as we think we are. And if you're a small business owner, you know how important it is to get ready for the insane holiday season. And even if you just got a lot of family or friends that you're going to be shipping stuff to, now's the time to get ready. Luckily for us, Stamps.com has everything you need to make your life a whole lot easier. Because Stamps.com is your one-stop shop for all of your shipping and mailing needs. Get access to the USPS and UPS services you need to run your business right from your computer. Because with inflation on the rise, every single dollar counts. Protect your margins with major discounts on USPS and UPS rates up to 86% off. Stamps.com offers a stress-free solution for everyone. Use Stamps.com to print postage wherever you do business. All you need is a computer and a printer. And if you need a package pickup, you can easily schedule it through your Stamps.com dashboard. So get out ahead of the holiday chaos this year. Get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with the promo code CAMPEA for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the page, and enter the code CAMPEA. The second episode, though, thankfully was a different story. Because once you get into the second episode, it's like, okay, where they dropped the ball in the first, they picked it back up. Suddenly now, all the scenes seem to have more cadence to them. All the scenes seem to have more pace. The moments, and they decided to convey their message in much more thrilling, engaging ways that they just failed to do in the first episode. This one image right here is a great example of that. Without giving any details away, in the first episode, there's a scene that is involving this, what you see on screen. And it's dull. An almost identical scene happens in the second episode, but they do it, it's just in such a way that is far more engaging and far better. And so by the end of the second episode, I'm like, I'm ready for episode 3. I'm ready to go here. Yeah, Ray.
Being that these episodes are 1 hour long, we have a lot of viewers that probably don't have a lot of time after work. Would you say the first episode is important to the second one, or can we start on the second one and get it?
That's
I like that question.
That is a great question. Here's what I would say. I would say absolutely watch the first episode for 2 reasons. One, there are some things that happen in that first episode that you're going to need to have in your tool belt in order to kind of get the second episode. But the second thing is this, and I always emphasize this with people. Just because episode 1 did not work for me does not mean it's not going to work for you. Like, you may watch, I'm sure there's some people, some of my fellow theater goers who saw this last night and thinking, John, you're crazy. That first episode was awesome. And if you feel that way, that's great. I celebrate that. I'm just telling you, it wasn't for me. So I would absolutely say don't skip the first episode. Number 1, because there are some important things in there. But number 2, you may end up loving the first episode. So give it that.
Also, like you said, it wasn't like it was stupid or bad acting. It just was a slow pacing.
Yeah, it's not like 15 stupid things happen. No. It was nothing like that. It was just like, oh my God, get on with it. Just get on with it.
Oh.
Again, you look at Severance. Severance is a great example. That is quiet, slow burn, but that story is always moving. And I just didn't feel that in episode 1. But again, thank God they played the first 2 episodes together, because that second episode was night and day difference from the first one for me. I was now suddenly far more interested in the characters. I was now far more engaged in the action that was going on screen. I now cared about what this is building up to. The mystery of some of the things started to become relevant to me. And therefore, by the end of the second episode, when the screen goes black, I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait for next week. And so, yeah, it's a tale of 2 episodes for me. It was a tale of 2 episodes for me. So yeah, I'm really excited about the next episode. But oh my God, if they hadn't played 2 episodes together, I may have tapped out after the first episode.
I'm just curious where like the how beloved just like Lord of the Rings is for so many people versus like how short our attention spans culturally are right now, and how much people do just have that like, there's 800 things that people are telling me I should watch right now. Like, how many people will power
Well, that's
through
like my Netflix queue.
The 800 Netflix.
Yep.
No, honestly, Anne, when we came out of the movie, when we came out of watching the 2 episodes, I asked her, so what did you think? She said, well, I definitely liked the second episode more. I'm like, me too. And then she goes, but I have no idea what just happened. I have no idea what was going on. And
not a great review.
And so I am very curious to people who really don't know much about the lore of that. Like, listen, when the Cimmerals get mentioned, like, you can feel the buzz with certain people in the audience. Once the Cimmerals get mentioned, like, and brought up and they talk about them for a minute, there are people in the audience you could tell, and you could tell there's a whole bunch of people in the audience who had the what now? The who's it's? The what? Are these like the Infinity Stones for Thanos? And I'm like, you're not actually very far off on that. As a matter of fact, now that you mention it. But
that's the me's in the audience leaning over to my boyfriend going, what is that?
But I will, something I said in my out of the theater review was this. Once you get into one of the things that happens in the second episode was pure delight. It was Elrond and Durin. When Elrond and Durin get together, it's like business picks up. To quote JR, business picks up. It becomes absolutely delightful. And I will say this too. While a lot of people have made a lot of stuff about how that this takes a lot of liberties with the Tolkien original stuff, I would say that's fair. It's also very true in many ways. It's also very true to the spirit of the Tolkien text in many ways. There are clearly some differences, but I will tell you this. The way the dialogue is spoken and all that kind of stuff, it feels very Tolkien. It feels very, very Tolkien. So anyway, any other questions?
I just got to say, like with House of the Dragon,
Yeah.
the first 15 minutes, if I had the option of walking out your theater room, I would have.
The first.
You actually, if you were actually, look at me, I actually turned on my slot machine app on my phone.
Yes, you did.
It was that because
annoyed your sister.
I'm coming from someone who hasn't watched Game of Thrones, but there was a certain moment in that episode where I just put down my phone and I was like, okay. And I think it had something to do with Damon, my favorite character on the show right now. And so, like with this one, an hour first episode, I'm hoping there's something there that I find.
I have a feeling you're going to like the first episode a lot more than I did.
Oh, okay.
I have a feeling you will. Anne mentioned the same thing to me. She goes, I bet Ray really likes the first episode. I said, I can kind of see that. I can see that. But I'm going to be dying to talk to you,
Yes.
Chris,
So excited about
tomorrow on the after show, because like you are like the hardcore Tolkien fan.
The way
Chris was
my
gonna be like,
face
"They need to
dropped
slow
when
that
it was,
pacing
did you
down."
watch my out of the theater review? And I was like, no. And John just goes, no. But I mean, again, though, like we've talked about this so much. They could do anything with this basically, and I'd be like, let's just talk about grass for the first episode. It'll be fine. Yeah. Let's just talk
by
about
the
the
way,
different
the
meals.
Harfoots, adorable.
Of course they are.
Yeah, the Harfoots. I didn't know how I'd feel about the Harfoots. The Harfoots are adorable. But when you meet the dwarves, yeah, it gets pretty cool.
Do they do a good job with the whole Harfoot versus Hobbit thing? Because I know that's a point of contention for some people. We're like, there's not Hobbits yet. No, they're not, but they're this.
Yeah,
so calm down.
It's when you meet the Harfoots, it ain't Hobbiton.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect,
They're
perfect.
clearly distinctions.
Okay.
They're clearly distinctions.
One last question.
Yeah.
Can you just talk briefly about the scope Does it seem
Big.
like the world is big?
Big.
Okay, good. That's always something I enjoy.
Right from the beginning of the show. Right from the beginning, they kind of, this world is huge. Okay, and they do, that's one of the cool things that they do at the beginning. Like the way that Peter Jackson's first Lord of the Rings film begins. It begins with narration, kind of giving you a little bit of a background of the world, being narrated just like it did in the Peter Jackson film by Galadriel. So there's a lot to feel familiar about. Again, I'm just going to be really interested to see how people feel about the dichotomy that I felt between episode 1 and 2. 2 was great, I thought. 1, not so much. But anyway, guys, question is for you. How are you feeling about it? It is on tonight. And a lot of you guys went to go see it in the theaters last night. How did you feel about it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there.